Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Student Guide 2022. I can see some of our experts here already. Irina Bothard, welcome to our session today.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here and to take part in this discussion.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here with us today. We have one more expert who will be joining a little bit later. So I guess we should start. Good morning. We are Elizaveta, Korneeva, and Arina will be your moderators today. It's an honor to welcome you all here at our session of the Student Guide Forum 2022. Thank you for joining us at this prestigious event. The Student Guide is an annual large-scale event at RANEPA. The forum gives students invaluable experience in public speaking and the opportunity to hold a discussion on an equal footing with experts. We welcome you all here at our session with a topic that could not be more important or more relevant. Our session today is called Hospitality, ESG, and Other Factors of Industry Transformation, the factors that are affecting our future today. Our expert, Irina Bothard, is an expert in hospitality business consulting, CEO and founder of Impulse Hospitality, a company bringing expertise to hospitality professionals. A warm welcome here at our session.
We are joined here today by the speakers from a leading hospitality group in Moscow, RANEPA Department of Hospitality, and the speakers today will raise some very deep questions, such as how beneficial is city branding, how has design thinking influenced event management, what are the latest technological trends in hospitality and are they really driven by design thinking? And finally, how much attention is paid to sustainability issues and what is environmentalism in hospitality? So we will dedicate the first part of our panel discussion to modern changes in the event and hospitality industry. Then we would talk about city branding, and the last part would focus on sustainable development and eco-consciousness in the hospitality sphere. For everyone working in the sphere of hospitality and events, it's clear that development doesn't happen without changes and transformation. So, what it is that drives the industry forward?
We have 3 presentations today dedicated to the topic of design thinking in the events industry. After each presentation, we will invite our experts to ask questions and share your insights and opinions on the topic. We will also have a panel discussion about design thinking in hospitality after the first 3 presentations. Allow me to introduce our first speakers today. Eva Kutuzova and Anna Pavlova are second-year students at the Department of Hospitality. Eva has some working experience in advertising agency ProMasters, and Anna has worked in Lode Hotel Moscow. The speakers have conducted their own survey on the attitudes of 3 different generations on the event industry. What are the 3 generations that affect the industry today? What are the implications of this? We will now find out. Please welcome our speakers, Eva Kutuzova and Anna Pavlova.
Good morning, everyone. We are the students of Faculty of Hospitality, Eva Kutuzova and my colleague Anna Pavlova. We are going to give a talk about musical events to the needs of different generations. What do they really want and how does the industry adjust to their demands?
We have decided to conduct our own research on this topic, as there is insufficient information available and because a lot of resources where we can find this information are not reliable.
What you can see on the screen is the comparison of the most important factors of different generations during the stay at music events obtained from our self-made survey. Boomers highlight comfortable stay as a key factor. Next slide, please. While Generation X prefers visual content, for instance, stage decorations and the broadcasting of the concert on screens, and audio contents, which means songs. As for millennials, their priority is mainly audio content. And what they pay the least attention is on-screen broadcasting. These charts show the difference in preferences between boomers, Generation X, and millennials that forces music events organizers to adapt to the needs of each generation.
So what do they really need to get a positive experience from the event? Nowadays, the concert industry has improved a lot and is well organized. It has learned to adapt to the external environment and to the needs of visitors. Despite this, consumers of different generations are still not fully satisfied with the events and are waiting for some improvements. For example, 25% of interviewed boomers have a complaint about the audience. They would like to see less people in the hall, as well as the absence of people in an inadequate state. Surprisingly, 29% of Generation X who took part in the survey has proven to be demanding in terms of the accessibility and cleanliness of public restrooms. Meanwhile, 70% of the millennials are not satisfied with the organization of entrances and exits at the concert hall, as well as they are not really satisfied with the organization of crowds inside the hall. Organizers should consider the views of consumers in order to attract different generations to their events.
So what is already done to adjust their demands? According to the survey of Eventbrite, around 30% of boomers attend concerts and festivals. For instance, in 2015, organizers of the Bottle Rock Festival, which is held in Napa Valley, noticed that slightly more than 30% of all attendees were boomers. After analyzing the statistics, they decided to adjust the lineup to attract more generations. As a result, both chart toppers Imagine Dragons and the legendary Robot Plants performed on the same stage at this festival. This shows how the Bottle Rock Festival has adapted not only to the usual visitors, but have also attracted a new, younger audience by changing their content.
We're moving on to Generation X. These people are open to learn something new about technologies, and they are open to communicate with others. Barry Farrell, the creator and organizer of the festival Lollapalooza Chicago, was aware of these features of the generation. That's why Lollapalooza was one of the first festivals where visitors could discover virtual reality games at every show.
Millennials are considered to be the most active users of the internet. In 2021, a Russian company, MTS, created the MTS Live Studio project. Within the framework of this project, the artists perform in an online concert format. MTS Live Studio is a great opportunity for those who cannot attend an offline concert due to circumstances to listen.
Our survey has shown that three generations have very different attitudes to concerts and festivals, as well as different requirements and needs of their organization. Based on these findings, concert organizers can and already do increase attendance and visitors' satisfaction by adapting to the needs, to the requests and tastes of different generations. Thank you very much. That was it. And if you have some questions, you are really welcome to ask them.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. And we have some questions. Let's see if our expert has questions about your presentation. Irina, please, we would welcome your questions.
Thank you very much. I do have several questions. First of all, I would like to say that I liked the presentation. It was very interesting to find out the results of the studies, and what's appealing to me, for example, is that it was real study, first-hand information. And my question is concerning how many events did you analyze during your study to came to the conclusions that you come to the results that you came?
Thank you very much for this interesting question. We didn't analyze like certain festivals and concerts. We were asking people of different generations about their experience on the events at all, not on a certain, because boomers, Generation X and millennials, they attend different concerts and festivals.
Okay. And another question, you gave 3 examples of totally different events. But during your presentation, I had a question. It would be interesting for me, for example, to find out whether there's any differences between regions in accepting different events. We all know, for example, in Russia, we have more and more capabilities of organizing these big musical events, not only in 2 capitals like Moscow and St. Petersburg, but also in Sochi and St. Petersburg. And my question is, whether the requirements of people living in Moscow and St. Petersburg are different from people living, for example, in Sochi and in other regional cities.
I would like to thank you for your question too. So that's a really interesting question, because there is a big difference in what we see in regions and in big cities. Because mainly in regions, there are concerts for boomers, maybe sometimes for Generation X, but not for millennials, because they mostly go to another city to join any festival and to visit any concert. It might be a problem, but I guess festivals and like the festival industry, event industry is improving now, and in some time it will not be a very big problem, because by now there are some festivals, like mini festivals, are held in regions. I know it from because I'm from the Moscow region, and it is improving now. So I guess it will not be a big problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your answers and for your presentation again. And now we're moving on.
Okay, so let me present the next speaker. Artemy Bozov, our next speaker, is the second-year student of hospitality who already works as a project manager in an event organizing company, Concord Group. And Artemy will share some insights into innovations in event management and how much it is influenced by design thinking. Artemy, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Artemi, and I'm the second-year student of the Faculty of Hospitality. And today I'm going to speak about how design thinking influences the event management. Before considering how it influences the event management, let us state what design thinking is. So according to the Florida State University, design thinking is defined as the process that engages one to prototype, redesign, and gather feedback. Here on the slide, you can see the tendency of popularity of jobs which include design thinking. It has grown each year. There were slightly more than 120,000 event managers in 2020. That shows that event managers should also adopt these changes. The main goal of an innovative approach is to pave the road to absorbing ambience of the play, concert, or meeting. Thanks to changes, design thinkers or event managers could redesign and revise the traditional theater or classroom style setup. In traditional one, the tables are arranged in a rectangle way, while in the original one, they form a semicircle around the stage. This provides guests with flexibility, and it became more comfortable for them to participate in events when it is used. Event management has gone through the deep stages of modifications. Here on the slide, you can see the table, and you may ask me, why there is so big difference between 2 years and the number of visitors of Bolshoi Theatre? And the answer will be the organ. The organ in Bolshoi Theatre was installed. It is located behind the stage on a special gallery which is 10 meters high, and it has 1,800 pipes to create a saturated and surround sound to astonish guests. And as the consequence, the number of visitors of Bolshoi Theatre almost doubled compared to the times when there was no organ installed. That's how innovations can boost the ticket sales revenue. The next slide, please. Now, I would like to pay your attention to the marketing side of event management, which is also a significant part of it, which is also being redesigned. Here on the slide, you can see that from 2011 to 2021, the internet popularity growth was 30%. There was slightly more than 60% of the world's population uses web, especially business, to gain revenue. According to PwC, website ticket sales reach up to 80%, and only 20% are vended through the offline kiosks. Here on the slide, you can see the growth prediction of online ticket sales by 2026. And as can be distinctly seen here, the ticket sales, website ticket sales, is growing each year, and it will definitely continue to do so. Today, the big amount of tickets are sold online through Redkassa, Yandex Afisha, and Ticketland. That shows the alteration of event managers' work. Event management and design thinking are two inseparable parts, and design thinking is the crucial point in today's reality because it assists event managers to forecast the guest needs and to model what is going to be in demand in the future. It also plays a significant role in evolving the quality relations between the customer and organizer. Nowadays, event management or design thinking became the basement of an efficient event management campaign. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them.
Thank you very much, Artemi, for a very informative presentation. Okay, so we would like to ask Irina. Irina, do you have any questions to our second speaker?
I would like to ask, thank you very much, Artem, for your interesting presentation. And it's a very interesting sphere, which we actually didn't know a couple of years ago, event management. It's a very demanding profession nowadays, and we saw the popularity. My question would be, because you are also working in a real company, as was announced, Concord Group. I know this company very well. How would you estimate the ability of existing event managers to use this concept of design thinking in organizing events. How many of them use, or how many actually clients sort of demand this design thinking in realization of events nowadays?
Thank you for a question. That's a good topic to discuss, because today it is the development theme. So design thinking is only becoming more and more popular, and it is not, let's say, invaded in event management fully. And not all the event managers using these tactics, but in the future, I'm sure that the expectations of visitors will be higher. And the higher of the expectation, the more professional event managers should be. That's why design thinking will help them to create the better event. And of course, if we go back to the second slide of my presentation, design thinking is all about the gathering feedback and redesigning innovations. And today, a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, and especially event managers, they tend to improve the future performances of the artists, plays, concerts, and so on. I think that it will develop like in, let's say, 5 years, because now it's not as developed as I would like to see this.
Thank you very much. Hopefully in 5 years, we will have all the event managers using exactly design thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this discussion. And now we would like to welcome our second expert that has joined us. Vladimir Larionov is the General Manager of Palmyra Garden Hotel and Spa, and a specialist with vast expertise in the hospitality industry, both in Russia and abroad. Vladimir, we are very happy that you've joined us today.
Is Vladimir here? There must have been a connection failure. We'll sort this issue out soon.
So we are going on further.
Yes, we are going on. Our next topic is no less interesting. Welcome Igor Semyonov, our second-year student at the Department of Hospitality, who will show us the nitty-gritty of how branding works for cities.
Yeah, greetings to everybody. My name is Igor Semyonov. I'm the second-year student, and I'm going to continue the topic of design thinking. And I'm going to try to cover how design thinking is linked with city branding. All right. So emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Those are the 5 stages of design thinking process. Design thinking has a huge potential in a large, in a big range of areas, including marketing, tourism, and even economics. And actually, the combination of those 3 areas and design thinking leads us to city branding. City branding being the process which is aimed at increasing the attraction of investment and tourism, as well as strengthening local identity and avoiding social exclusion according to the Kavaratsis. In this speech, I am going to try to explain why city branding must use design thinking techniques, covering the case of Edmonton. Edmonton being a major Canadian city with over 1.2 million residents. The city had major issues with its outlook back in 2012, but the design thinking methods really helped. So as I already said, in design thinking, it all starts with the empathy. In the first stage, it's crucial to really walk in the shoes of the stakeholders here being the city's residents. That's why Team Longwoods International, the guys in charge of the city branding campaign, held many surveys, in the first half of which city's residents were asked about the major issues that the cities had. And the common response was that the city was being overshadowed by other nearby cities, that it was stagnating, that it needed a breath of fresh air. Okay, now comes the second stage. The stage where it's needed to define the issue. It's needed to understand what is particularly wrong. It's needed to find the causal relationship with between A and B. So in the second part of the survey, Team Longwood's held, city's residents were asked about that kind of relationship. And it turned out that actually city's residents loved the city. They even adored Edmonton, but they had no way of expressing it. The city had nothing to stand out. It had no identity. It had no story. That's why Team Longwoods International decided to find that story. They held more than 150 interviews, and about 30, and about after 30 of which they realized that they were hearing the same story over and over. Iconic global companies that had launched in Edmonton had the same narrative arc as social ventures, as other businesses, as festivals, and so on. One of the respondents gave this great response that helped Team Longwoods to define the issue, and they made it actually their own master story. Years ago, when Edmonton was an isolated place, Edmontonians invented their own fun. They created their own solution, and that spirit remains today. Risk takers, people with ideas, thrive in a bizarrely cooperative city. 5 minutes here, and you are one of us. Thus, the story, the identity the Edmonton was craving for was finally formulated. And it sounded like Edmonton is an unusually good place for a startup, right? Often, after first two stages, the stages of ideating, prototyping, and testing come. But unfortunately, I was not involved in the work process, so I cannot really tell about the ideas, prototypes, or tests Team Longwoods had, but I'm sure I can tell you about what happened next. And what happened next was a great example of what you can do with a story. Edmontonians were most proud of what they made, so it was decided to tell that story of Edmonton unity in a community building activity called Make Something Edmonton. City's residents were asked to go out and just create something, make something beautiful, make something small, make something green, make something bright, make something strange, you name it. And the outcome was just great. City's residents put lights on the high-level bridge. They made community gardens. They launched mural campaigns. They launched new businesses, new festivals, new bands. Next slide, please. They even used it to change the city's bylaws. There was this one bylaw that restricted food trucks moving from one place to another. So that bylaw changed, increasing the number of Edmontonian food trucks from 6 to 96 in a year. All of those projects, all of those new projects were displayed on social media, on the television, on the purposely built website, making a large amount of spawning a great amount of feedback. Next slide, please. More than 1,500 projects emerged from this campaign, providing the city with job opportunities and overall goods. The conclusion is that Make Something Edmonton campaign proves that there's an inextricable link between design thinking methods and a successful city branding campaign. I'm sure Russian cities must implicate the same techniques in their own brand campaigns. Next slide. Russia actually has a lot of powerful stories, and what it's left is to tell these stories in a proper way. All right, that's all for me. That's all for now. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact me using those sources or just ask them now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Igor, for a very interesting presentation. We had 3 presentations that were somehow related to design thinking and to branding and to marketing to different generations, also marketing in cities. If we could extrapolate this to the hotel industry, is what kinds of marketing are the most prominent today? So this is a question to our expert, Irina. Speaking of marketing and hospitality in hotels, what would be the biggest trends right now?
So you're asking me, right?
Irina, our expert.
Okay.
As an expert with lots of experience in this field.
Yeah, I'm not an expert at all.
Thank you very much for the question. There are a lot of different trends that come to mind at the moment, especially in marketing, but some of them are connected to what we lived through the last couple of years with COVID, for example. And these tendencies are connected somehow to automatization, robotization, and using of more touchless technologies. That's sort of on the one hand. This tendency were developing by itself, but with the situation of COVID and all the restrictions that we had, they were going in a fast way. But as far as the human side of marketing is concerned, we noticing the trend to more personalized service, to redesigning, and here comes this design thinking as well, redesigning customer journey, starting, like Igor said, with empathy, and trying to make this journey seamless at all points, regardless of whether it's online contact or the personal contact, etc., etc. A lot of trends are connected with analysis, because the last couple of years showed that based on your sort of intuition, you cannot make real decisions, and a lot of things are developing in analyzing your own stats, your own data, before you make any kind of conclusions, because there are no conclusions that are applicable to everybody, and all hotels and businesses have to realize that they are unique, and they have to analyze your data to make the correct decision. This is in a nutshell what I can say about marketing trends at the moment.
Thank you very much. That's a very important answer for us.
But I wanted to ask a question, if you don't mind, to Igor, because through the presentation, I really like the presentation. It's actually amazing how thorough these presentations are. And my question to Igor is, do you know any successful examples of using city branding in Russia?
Yeah, there actually are many. That's great, actually, that Russia has a lot of successful examples of city branding. I could give you one example I find precisely good. So I'm from St. Petersburg, and it's just a coincidence that I adore city branding campaign. The studio of Artemy Lebedev made a great campaign directly for the external tourism. St. Petersburg is pretty popular among tourists, so the idea was to make to try to make the cities more suitable for the tourists. So they made more than 100 icons, more than 100 signs that would describe every uniqueness, every activity, every museum, whatever do you have in St. Pete. The campaign was actually pretty good. It was highly rated by experts all over the world. It was even presented, I think, in the Euroshop in 2018, which was great, actually. So yeah, I believe you've seen those yellow signs, those yellow identics. Yeah. That's a great example of city branding in Russia, and I'm sure they used some design thinking in that campaign. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you, Arina.
You're welcome.
Before we move on to our next presentation and our next talk, I'd like to present our expert, our second expert, who is here today. Please welcome Vladimir Larionov. Vladimir is the general manager of Palmyra Garden Hotel and Spa, and a specialist with vast experience in the hospitality industry in Russia and abroad. Hello, Vladimir.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you. I apologize for delay. Unfortunately, I have some issues with internet connection because I'm out of Russia. I need a VPN to join the Zoom, but finally all problems are solved and I'm here with you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to recap what we've been doing, we've been talking about marketing. We've been covering all kinds of topics. Speaking of marketing, we actually have a question for you, Vladimir. So being a general manager, how do you make sure that all of those needs of the guests, different generations, different ages, how do you make sure that all of those needs and expectations are met by the hotel?
Okay, the main, I would like think and trying to understand that we are going the right way. It's guest review. We're all using different types of system to count and look at the reviews of the guests. Most of the hotel use it cost reviewer, and the second one that trust you. It shows like your rates on Google, TripAdvisor, Yandex, all sources like Expedia, everything, and shows your score on different sources. This is the first thing. And the second one, we use e-commerce marketing. It's the most powerful things now because you can measure it. And you have an idea, doesn't matter what is it. And then because when you use normal marketing, not normal like everyone, every marketing is normal, but you could not measure. E-commerce, you could measure. You create an idea like free weekend or third night as a present. You start using it through the internet, and then you see your conversation, how many nights, room nights booked. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you can see, for example, how many clicks, what is the interest in it. Like maybe they start reading, they go to your offer, they read it, but they're not booking. It means you have to change the description of the article or description of the offer. That's why now all goes through the internet because you can measure it. That's the main thing that we're using it. That's it. Like, yes, that's it.
Yeah, thank you for your expertise on this question. It's always interesting to hear real stories and real examples from the industry. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, so now we are moving on beyond the event industry and turn to hotels. Our next speaker, Dana Shasherina, worked at Metropole Hotel last year as an assistant banquet manager. This year, she worked in City Hotel 1905 in Moscow as booking assistant, receptionist, and a bartender. So as you can see, Dana has first-hand experience working at modern hotels that strive to keep up with competition. So how to survive in fierce competition? Dana has the answer to this question with her presentation, The Role of Board Assistants in the Hospitality Industry. Dana, the floor
Yeah.
is yours.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Dana, and I'm going to speak today about the role of bot assistants in the globalized world in the hotel business. A bot assistant is a computer program designed to stimulate conversation with human users. It can be as virtual or physical. The purpose of a chatbot is to support business teams in their relations with customers. The chance for travelers to meet bot assistants before and during their journey has increasingly appeared to become a reality these days, especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Self-service became a must to minimize the risk of contamination. Airports and airlines have begun introducing automated technologies to assist with check-in and lounge access, while hotels have started using them for basic guest services such as check-in and check-out, providing guests with directions and information on local attractions, registering for events, and answering to property-specific questions. Some robots can also dance and pose for selfies or act as butlers for guests, specifically with the delivery of water bottles, fresh towels, toiletries, and room service. The role of bot assistants in the hotel business is crucial. Before engaging potential new guests, hotel needs to be available for them in the most efficient way possible. So having a chatbot on a hotel website or mobile app means that potential guests can get all information asked 24 hours and in just one click. And the chances of losing the guest during the booking journey reduce considerably. Now, with the pandemic, people are hesitating to travel again. Therefore, they need all assurance they can have about the hygiene protocols and the hotel's operations before booking a room. Chatbots can quickly provide them with all necessary information. For any business, as I have already said, it's important to be available through the channel chosen by the client. And it is not enough nowadays just to answer emails or telephone. The hotel must be online on different communication channels, websites, social media, and message apps. The advantages of having a hotel chatbot is the ability to answer multiple clients on multiple channels and in multiple languages, so that all customers are satisfied. The role of robots is highly estimated by hoteliers as well. Turnover rates in hotels are quite high. Every time a new employee is hired, time is spent in training, so the hotel standard is kept even with the changes of staff. When a robot is hired, it is enough for it to be taught one single time. Also, having automation technologies is considerably cheaper than hiring multilingual employees to work only during business hours. A robot doesn't take pauses, works 24 hours, and can communicate in several languages. By using a bot, a hotel business can save money, which is why many business owners are adopting this technology and replacing their conventional human live chat agents. In the competitive and fast world that we live in now, self-service is not a luxury. It should be a part of customer service. Chatbots have indeed altered the face of the hotel industry by providing effective management, satisfactory guest experience, and tailored administration skills. Hospitality brands have integrated bot assistants as part of their day-to-day services. Chatbots are really set to move ahead and to help different hotels stand out and increase their share of the marketplace. So thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer the question.
Dana, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I would like to ask our expert, do you have any questions? Irina?
I do have a question of philosophical character. We all know that hospitality is all about the human relationship, and actually the hotel service is about the warmth and empathy, like we discussed previously. what do you think, Dana, will happen with using more technical devices and robots in hospitality industry service? Will it not lose the human touch?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's very an interesting question. I also thought about this point. I think that it's a main disadvantage of bot assistants that some people don't hesitate like to communicate with robots. So I think the main problem is that if the hotel will use bot assistants is first it's job cuts in the region where is the hotel, and it's very important for all countries and for all regions. Although maybe if the hotel use bot assistants, the problem is that there is no warm and no how to say guests no really good guest experience for people that don't like to communicate with robots, because they will not like to turn to this hotel. They prefer the hotel that have real people that can help them in any problems, because robots can solve problems only in one way. They will not like to search the way of resolving it for every person. Yeah, that's it. It's the main disadvantage of robots and bot assistants.
But how do you see the future? What would be the answer to keep this warmth of human service and also using robots?
I think it all depends of the concept of the hotel, because nowadays some hotels propose them on the market as smart hotels. So people visit these hotels to get this experience. They want to see how it works and how they can communicate with robots and how robots can solve their problems. But I think in future, some hotels will not applicate robots, or only to applicate them in some spheres, as for example, smart bots in hotel rooms for example, to make a reservation in the hotel. But when the guest will come to the hotel, I think, for example, the receptionist can't be a robot, because people really want to talk with them and to discuss maybe some problems even. So I don't think that bot assistants will be a real workers of the hotels. I think they only can help managers to maybe to cut their assets and to help hotels to prevent problems with workers and with also with languages, because not every worker can speak multiple languages, and robots can. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
What an interesting discussion we are having. Vladimir, can we ask you to share your thoughts and your expertise on this issue? And could you tell us, please, if robots or bots or chatbots are used in the hotel where you are working at the moment?
Yes, thank you for your addition, I would like. And also, I have before we'll start answering, and add some information, I'd like to ask Dana, in your opinion, a robot, is it a luxury or not? What is preferable? What is the more expensive now, to have a robot or to have a real people working?
Yes, I have already said the robot is not luxury, because some workers need even more than a robot needs. So it's not luxury, because the hotel buy the robot only once, and to work you pay every month, and yeah, it is a luxury. I think in future I think the workers will be a luxury, not robots.
Exactly, you're 100% right, because we discussed about this one many times, and for the luxury brands, robot will not applicable, because now you can see when trends to easy understand. For example, an airplane or economic class, you made check-in by yourself. Business class, all the time you go into the desk. Look at this one. The same with the hotel. All luxury premium brands are not using robots at all, like, because it's too cheap for them. It shows that we are spending for money for your guests. You can speak with the real people. This is the main feature. But there are some hotels like Citizen M, for example, or Yotel. They're using a robot, and they shows the idea is that luxury could be affordable. For example, we can have a big size bed, king bed or queen bed, but you will make your online check-in also the robot. As about my hotel, we are also using online check-in, but not with a robot now. For example, when you can make booking, you send a confirmation like that, and you can make check-in online. You go to the reception, just pick up the key. And the second one we are using, we have a chat with the guests. For example, you scan QR code on the TV, and then, for example, you have like typical question, how to connect Wi-Fi, can I order something? You through the system, the robot answer you and send the signal to the system, to the engineers, to the housekeeping, to IT. This is what we are using now. It could be usable for the all types of properties, but luxury hotels, I will repeat it again, could not leave the employers, real employers, because they need to show that they're spending money for the real guests. This is the main idea. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Vladimir. This is very interesting. Very interesting to hear all of this expertise and facts from real hotels. Let's move on to our next speaker and our next project. Design thinking, ecology, hotels. What is the link here? Lara Gladisheva, our second-year student, has worked at major hotels such as Lotte Moscow. She will now share with you her very own exciting project, and it is called Design Thinking in the Planning of Eco Hotels. Lara, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Valeria, and what will be presented today is the prototype development of recreational activities for teenagers at countryside hotels. So the main purpose was the quality improvement of teenagers' vacations at countryside hotels. And this study particularly was carried out due to the lack of recreational activities for teenagers, also need to improve the ecological situation, and also the hoteliers' desire to increase hotel occupancy. So on the second slide, you could see the guide interview. That's a list of questions in a specific order that allowed the interviewer to conduct the interview smoothly. So it includes several questions about teenagers' experiences at countryside hotels. Here you can see the greeting, the main part with all the questions about the stay, and also the conclusion with some extra questions about their personal experience. So 14 interviews in all were held among countryside hotel visitors, and that's how the prototype of a persona model was created. You can see it on the slide, and the persona model itself is a collective image of a potential customer with their habits, their expectations, their tastes, and particularly this one is called a bored perfectionist on vacation. So they're seeking a hotel where all the family members can find an exciting activity or a fascinating way to spend their free time. And here on the slide, you can see what's important for them, who they trust, what they like, what they hate, and etc. So on the next slide, please. Yes, here you can see the gap map. It compares customers' expectations with the same aspects, but in real life. So this design thinking tool enables us to name the main causes of teenagers' negative experiences at countryside hotels. And I can say that they're pretty different from adults one. So the next step was the CJM, that stands for the Customer Journey Map. And it visualizes one day from a teenager's life at a hotel. So that's a teenager's approximate daily schedule with, as you can see, some morning exercises, playroom activities, lunch, of course, master classes, and some evening disco parties. So below this colorful line, you could see the respondents' quotes with their positions on the mentioned aspects. And the happy and sad faces above show the quality of each service. So this tool made it possible to identify the most frequent groups of weaknesses in countryside hotel services. And among them are unprofessional organization of parties and hotel events, also lack of spacious playrooms, playgrounds that are suitable just for toddlers but not for teenagers, and also just boring recreational activities. So the next step was the HMW, that stands for How Might We? And this step was useful as a brainstorming technique, and it determined the most urgent challenges for teenagers at countryside hotels. So the two key issues were the lack of leisure activities that are suitable for teenagers, and also the lack of variety of amusement places on site. And all in all, as a result of almost 100 ideas analysis, we created the feasible prototype. That's an interseasonal eco-quest for teenagers. So you can see the picture, like kind of a plan of the eco-quest on the slide. And you could also scan the QR code at the bottom, follow the link and open the entire clickable version as well. So while participating in such an eco-quest, teenagers do various eco-friendly tasks. They take part in quizzes, in practice-oriented games. They can earn points that are called leaves. And these points could be spent on different prices, such as some sweets, hotel souvenirs. Also, they can plant their own personal tree or even spend their leaves on 20% discount for the next stay. And participants can also use these points to pay some VIP games, such as Eco Card and Virtual Pass that include AR. Teenagers also receive a personal account with all the data about their stay, about their quest progress, and they can also create their own virtual profile picture for AR games. Moreover, participants are provided with GPS wristbands to enable their parents not to worry about their child's current location. So all parts of this eco-quest are united by one main topic, that's sustainability and environmental protection. And all of the parts of the games can be modified according to the season, to the weather conditions, area of the hotel premises, and even hotel owners' preferences. And to conclude, owing to the eco-quest, teenagers could diversify their free time activities. They could play with receiving some gifts, learn about sustainability and the importance of environmental protection. Their parents also benefit from this idea as their child are always busy and supervised with their hotel employees. And so adults have an opportunity to relax on their own. And hotels in turn can increase hotel occupancy and attract several new guests. And the greatest thing is that this prototype has been rated as a feasible option by actual representatives of the hotel industry. So I guess that's it. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me.
Wow, thank you, Valeria. That's truly an amazing project that you've done. It's always so exciting to see students do their own project, conduct their own research. And I guess we'll have some questions about this topic. I will invite questions from our experts. Perhaps Irina, please, if you have any questions, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Valeria, for extremely interesting presentation. Even I had some ideas that I might use for my clients. But I would like to ask you a question because you made this presentation based on country hotel, but do you think some of your ideas could be used for city hotels as well?
Thank you for your question, Arina. Yes, mostly I made this project for countryside hotels for two reasons. Firstly, because there is the lack of activities at the countryside itself. And the second thing is, I guess, the main problem. So the size of the premises. It could be pretty difficult to create such a large eco-quest in a city hotel. But if you have pretty large premises for a city, you could implement several games from this eco-quest even in a city hotel.
Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Valeria. Thank you, Arina. And now, actually, we have a question to Vladimir. Palmyra Spa is a country hotel, right?
Exactly.
How does it? Yeah. So speaking of Palmyra Hotel and Spa, do you have any activities for teens or children? How is this demographic catered to?
Now it's I would say it's a really crucial question for us, because when I joined the Palmyra team, unfortunately, we didn't have the animation. But now we have not, like, I couldn't say that it's animation as for the kids. Now it's quite important to have animation for the kids, teenagers, and adults. It's I would say a relaxing program, we call it, and we realize that we completely have two different programs, different animation teams and sets up for child, adults, and teenagers. And it's quite important, as Valeria told, to have animation for the teenagers, because of most of the hotels has animation and programs to child and adults. Something between, they forgot about this one. And this is the key point, that the program for the teenagers, it could be added value for the hotel and could be reflected to ADR as well and for the selling price. That's why Valeria is chose the right topic that could be applicable for the all countryside hotels. Thanks so much, Valeria. Yeah, in a good way of thinking for the selling of the whole countryside hotels.
Thank you. And Vladimir, I have some kind of personal question for you. What do you think about the project? So would you like this project to be created, for example, at Palmyra Hotel?
Why not? I can invite you and we'll create this project together. Why not? It could be 100% applicable, because we have a forest. Unfortunately, we don't have lake, but we have some different kind of activities. Why not? We can create it together, and it definitely will be applicable, interesting. And we will look at this one, how hotel price will change when we will make it.
That would be great.
It's an interesting opportunity for our students to make their projects really work.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vladimir. Okay, so now we are moving on, and as Valeria has started the thread of sustainability and eco-friendliness, we will continue on this matter. Our next speaker, Alisa Pavlyuchenko, the first-year student, will touch upon social eco-consciousness and the steps that restorators take in order to form it. So it has to be mentioned, first of all, that Alisa herself is involved in some environmentalist movements and oversees an ecological project in a non-profit organization. So Alisa, the floor is yours. Tell us about the formation of social eco-consciousness.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elisa, and today I will be talking about improving restaurant sustainability. Restaurant and the food industry are one of the most wasteful industries in the world, and that's why the popularity of restaurant sustainability is rapidly increasing. Sustainability for restaurants means functioning in a way that minimizes the impact on the planet or just restores or protects the environment. It is also about communities. Restaurant owners should have an ongoing conversation with the local producers and the government about spreading the awareness of the importance of green practices. There are several effective ways of improving the sustainability of one's restaurant. That is prevention, recovery, and recycling solutions. I will focus on solutions that prevent waste in restaurants. They have the greatest economic value and environmental benefit and can be easier to implement without having a negative impact on the guest experience. One of the solutions could be serving more plant-based dishes because food and beverages we produce and choose may significantly affect the environment. Animal-based dishes, but diets, for example, compared to plant-based ones, have the highest carbon, water, and the ecological footprint. Selling more vegetable-based dishes can lower the contribution to this issue tremendously. Adding vegetarian and vegan dishes also comes with an added bonus of attracting environmentally conscious audience, which is growing rapidly. More than that, meat and dairy are one of the most expensive and least sustainable items on the menu. So vegetable-based dishes will have higher profit margins than the meat dishes. Moving on, there is waste tracking and analytics. Tracking food thrown away could cut costs by about 2 to 6% by increasing awareness of food waste within the restaurant. Restaurants should track both pre- and post-consumer food waste and use this data for adjusting operating procedures. This can be done by using tracking systems that capture the weight, type, and source of waste. The examples can be seen on this slide. Another great solution could be changing the menu design. By designing menus with food waste reduction in mind, restaurants can increase their profits. For example, by offering multiple portion sizes, this will allow guests to choose the meal that best suits their appetite. Also by minimizing the range of ingredients used across dishes for more cross-utilization. Also by training the culinary team in optimizing food preparation and by incorporating ingredients from the standard menu into limited time offers. Finally, advertising sustainable practices is a green practice of itself. Surveys show that the majority of guests are very interested in restaurants that try to protect the environment. So implementing green practices will attract participation in sustainable dining behavior and will potentially lead to guests returning to the restaurant. So restaurant managers should focus on showing that they really care about the environment through conducting green practices. This goal can be achieved by adopting tangible and observable sustainable solutions in the restaurant properties, for example, as can be seen from the slide. But here comes the question, are the guests really ready to pay for all of this? Actually, showing concern about the environment really influences the willingness to pay in green restaurants. Well, being conscious does not have any effect on the decision to pay extra. 65% of guests are already interested in paying more for green products. But for those who do make such decisions, the green consumerism attitude leads them to notably increase the amount of money they're willing to pay. All in all, implementing sustainable prevention practices in restaurants does not have the greatest economic value and ecological benefit, but also builds up the restaurant's brand and credibility, attracting more and more guests that care about the environment and leading to their visitation to the restaurant. That's the end of my speech. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Thank you very much, Alisa. So we would like to ask our experts if they have any questions. Irina, Vladimir, if you have anything to add about eco-consciousness and how it is used in hospitality, in all spheres of hospitality.
I would like just to share some experience about this topic and generally what we have now in reality in hospitality. For example, about costs and for example, plastic straw costs 10 times or 50, depends on the supplier, 10 times cheaper rather than from the trees or metal straws. It's for the hotels, it's more expensive. And we have some difficulties with waste control because we start splitting the waste, control expenses. But unfortunately, we realize that from the government, we don't have any support for the waste control, whatever. For them, doesn't make sense. We have just plastic or glasses or general waste. No, it doesn't matter. All the same prices. Even only during the COVID times, they realized that it's a really difficult question for the hoteliers, and we have some support if you have a separate waste, at least something. Like 2 years ago, we offered, let's have a different plastic, glasses, all stuff like this. It doesn't make sense. We have outside the city one bin, doesn't matter how come. What's the point to control all of this in our property, because the law asks it to make it all stuff separate? Doesn't matter. We don't have any support now, at least something. Just would like to share with you the real life. Unfortunately, from one thing, it's quite good that all properties try to keep it more eco-friendly and provide more sustainability stuff. But from others, we have to have a government support because the shows, I really like that all students talk about this one, because before it doesn't make sense. When we try to apply something, no one, especially with the straws, because I have many arguments with the owners since I think 2016. We started arguing that it's more expensive, but it's more eco-friendly and more sustainable for our property, etc., etc. But it's more expensive. In the end, it's more expensive. But now we realize that it's quite important for our environmental. That's why some things are changing in a good way.
Vladimir, and
so
do you
yes?
and do you really think that government attitude will change?
I think yes. Now it's changing slowly, but it's quite slowly changing. I can see it. Because, for example, as I told, we have some supports now for the plastic bins, for the glasses, for the globes, electric globes, at least something. I don't know how it goes in the end, but at least they're asking it to make it separate. And if you have it separate bins, not in the hotels for the guests, generally you have waste control. We have some discounts for the bins, because trash and waste, it's a huge of money. It's really hell of the money, and we have supports and discounts if you have it separately, at least something.
Well, yeah, at least a small silver lining here. Irina, would you like to add anything? Would you like to ask Alisa any questions, or probably Vladimir?
I would like to ask a question to Alisa. If you know any real life examples of restaurants using this policy based on which you did your presentation. Because I do agree with Vladimir that some of the decisions at the moment are extremely expensive. to introduce, and not only straws but plastic bottles as well, to change. I do have an example. Owners would like to change the plastic bottles into glass bottles, but it's prohibitively expensive.
Thank you so much for your questions. There are loads and loads of restaurants around the world that follow at least some of the sustainable practices. Whilst I was researching information for my speech, I've come across two outstanding restaurants. That is Silo in London, and it is a zero waste restaurant, and they produce close to none waste and recycle everything. And also there is the Red Bull restaurant in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia, which actually implemented all of the practices which I have mentioned and even more. They work closely with farmers, and they buy produce in recyclable containers. They focus on more vegan and vegetarian dishes in the menu, and they send their waste. They either recycle their own waste or send it to a special organization.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa, for such a detailed and in-depth presentation. Thank you very much, and also the experts for your expertise on the subject. It's a very interesting conversation we're having here today. And actually, to follow up, we have another no less gripping talk today on environmentalism. How is environmentalism implemented at restaurants? Some more ideas here. Let's find out. Please welcome Regina Minigalieva with her topic, Environmentalism, Consumption Culture in Hospitality. The floor is yours, Regina.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Arina, for introducing me. Well, yeah, I'm Regina, and a question for you straight away. Did you know that 2 million tons of clothing end up in landfills every year in Russia, and that 11.4 million tons of food waste the US food industry produces each year? Shocking numbers, aren't they? Well, ecology is a complicated but very important topic nowadays, and many companies are actively promoting an eco-friendly lifestyle. And I'm sure some of your friends have green habits, maybe you do, which is great. However, many people are still unfamiliar with such terms as sustainability or conscious consumption, which is mostly due to the abundance of information and the fear of delving into it. And so today I'd like you to look at the topic of conscious consumption and related eco-trends in restaurant business. We're going to look at 3 trends, which is recycling, free cycling, and energy saving. And yeah, first of all, recycling. Recycling is probably the most well-known trend among the supporters of conscious consumption. And I'm sure you are all well aware of the technology of this trend. So let's get straight to the examples. So the first is a cafe museum garage in Moscow. They use dried Duff and bucatini pasta instead of plastic tubes. The takeaway cups are made of paper, and also a little hint for you. If you bring your personal cup there, you'll get a 30% discount on a takeaway drink. The lids for the cups are made of corn starch. Also, the cafe is trying not to throw food away, and the food which is about to go bad is fed to staff members. Another example of a restaurant pursuing a recycling trend is a very famous fast food chain restaurant, and they declared that in 2021, they declared that more than 85% of packaging is made of certified paper and cardboard, and those don't harm the forest and leave much less footprint. on our environment. And the company is seeking to increase this number. Moving on to the second trend, which is free cycling. And free cycling is basically the exchange of necessary things between people, as you can see. Like, I give up something unnecessary, which is somewhere in my apartment covered in dust, and I don't use it and I don't really need it. And I give it up to get something from another person which would be necessary for me, but is unnecessary for him. So like a win-win deal. But this trend allows you not only to share goods, but also food. And so there is this project called food sharing in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and it aims collects the food that hasn't been sold but still edible, and they share it to those in need. Another example of recycling, Harvest Restaurant, which is in St. Petersburg, partners with the Ecology project, and they feed the leftovers to homeless people. Also, Harvest Restaurant is a truly green restaurant as they sort and recycle waste and minimize resource consumption. So yeah, I remember that this is a good restaurant. And the last but not the least, energy saving. So restaurants use a lot of energy in three main areas, which is lighting, cooling, and refrigerating. And luckily, there are ways to reduce the consumption and the demand for electricity, such as electric saving lights, LED lights, and electric saving, energy insulation, sensors in freezers that shut down automatically, and renewable energy sources. And I guess the best example of a restaurant implementing this energy saving renewable energy sources, is this chain restaurant, fast food restaurant that use only renewable sources. So there are 1,500 of cubic meters of solar panels on the roof. 65% of days of the year, the building of the restaurant is naturally ventilated. And there are a lot of good technologies, ways that they use renewable sources. It's mind-blowing. And of course, there are many other restaurants that use renewable energy sources. First restaurant that was open in last year in France, in Marseille, is called Le Pressage. And the picture that you see, it's not exactly how the restaurant looks like now, but it's the project they're going after that. Now it's just a little trailer, a lovely forest with tables and chairs for visitors. And the restaurant used solar panels to cook. Also, they partner with local farmers and use only local products. And I think that's it. These are all three trends. Next slide, please. These are all three trends that we've looked at: recycling, free cycling, energy saving. And it was a pleasure performing in front of you. Thank you all for your attention, and I'll be grateful to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Regina. A very interesting take on the question of environmentalism here. And I'd like to throw the session open for discussion and questions from our experts here, Vladimir, Irina, and anything that you have to say on this or any questions you'd like to ask.
I would like to add some information for the future research, because I would like to share some information. We did small research among the hotels before. I used to be F&B director and spent all my life in the restaurants. The most energy consumption, it doesn't go from the freezer and the refrigerator. As we realize, it is the heating panels, electric grills, etc. For the future, you can think about how to save, because the difficult parts, the cooking, and all the time heating panels should be on. Same with the grill. Otherwise, the dishes will serve much longer than it's supposed to be. The main course will not be served at 15-20 minutes as it's supposed to be. If you switch off the panel, it takes some time. The same with the grill. It takes 5-10 minutes to be heated to the proper temperature. That's why you have to think how to control this energy. It's like the consumption of this stuff is amazing. Just for Arina, you think how to save that, because for us it was the difficult questions. That's it. And it's why it's not so popular to talk about this one, because this problem is quite difficult to solve. Everyone talks about refrigerators because it's much easier for the producers to control the energy consumption there, but for the cooking station it doesn't work, because not so many companies know how to control the temperature at the same time that it could be proper level in a few minutes, not like 10-15 minutes to heating all this stuff. That's why for the future project you can think about this one.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a very important angle from which to look at this problem and this issue. Something to definitely, some future topic of research for our students here.
If I may add also on this of recycling, I also sort of investigate this problem with green energy and recycling, etc. And I do know from several research which was done by Harvard Business Review, for example, that recycling is actually not the real answer to the problem of saving energy, while some of the recycling habits, to recycle, for example, in fashion industry, to recycle stuff which was already used, you need more energy to recycle the stuff than to produce new stuff. So we actually have to, I think, set up certain rules how we calculate the consumption of energy to the full cycle of producing certain things. And until this is done, it's the problem which we look at only part of the problem, but not at the problem as a whole. And one more example, I'm based in Switzerland, and here they do sort out waste for a long time already. But I also have the experience of living in the Soviet Union, for example, and as far as glass is concerned, here you collect the glass, but then you break it while you throw away. But when you break it, it means that you have to heat up the glass, for example, to more than like 200, 500 degrees Celsius to produce new glass. And previously, I do have an experience where you take the bottle and just give it back to the shop or where you bought something. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a more ecological way of recycling, because you don't need so much energy to redo this stuff. And I think we have to have a little bit different understanding on the whole problem.
Thank you, Arina. Thank you very much for this take on the problem. Definitely, there are a lot of questions in-depth questions that we need to be asking ourselves when we talk about environmentalism. And we had some of those questions shared by our experts here just now. Regina, do you have anything to add now that we're closing this session?
Finishing up our section, I would like to add some extra words. The president of Federation of Restaurateurs and Hoteliers of Russia, Igor Bukharov, considered that Russians are not yet very actively interested in sustainable development in restaurant industry, and he suggests restaurants to actually share all this information about restaurants being green restaurants with their visitors. And yeah, I decided to take part in it too. And a little gift from me. There's a QR code that you could scan and get a little file of green restaurants in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And well, I hope you'll find it useful and support these places. And yeah, please stay eco-friendly and take care of our planet.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you for the QR code. Take a screenshot, everybody, so that we can save it for later and get some ideas of how to stay eco-friendly in these challenging times. So just leave a moment for you to take a screenshot or to point your camera to this and find out some wonderful ideas from Regina. Thank you, Regina, for this gift.
Yeah, thank you for your time and attention.
Okay. Now that the session is almost over, we have a question for Vladimir from the creative director of the Student Guide Forum. Vladimir, are you here with us? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Our creative director just loves your hotel and knows your hotel, knows Pomera Hotel and Spa, and would like to ask a question. So what are the most current trends today for you, right? What kinds of changes do you expect from yourself, from your business, from the industry of hospitality in general, right? In the context of the current situation as well.
Before 24th of February, all thinking about eco-friendly stuff, how to be more environmental friendly, like this. But now we are thinking how.
Oh, something happened.
There must have been a technical problem, I guess.
There must have been a glitch. We'll wait for Vladimir to rejoin us. And now, while we're at it, we have a few questions in the chat from our audience. I'm just going to read the questions. Some of them we have already answered. The first question is to Igor. Oh, okay, Vladimir is back, so we'll continue.
I apologize. I have a phone call and interrupt our meeting. Yes, and now we are all thinking how to live without OTA. OTA was quite important. What is OTA? Online travel agencies, because hotels are spent for the marketing from 6 to 7%, and OTA spent for the marketing up to 50%. But they took a commission from us. It's booking took around 18%. Plus, we have to pay VAT for them. And now, all hotels are using their own booking system and spend money. We need more direct bookings. Because Palmyra, for example, is not well known. It's a new brand, a new small chain, development chain. And we are spending much more now for the marketing. Yes, we're spending much more for the marketing, but on the other hand, there's a lot of savings from the commission. That's why it's our trend, not only for us. I talk with many hoteliers and they admit they're spending marketing expenses increasing, but commission is decreasing. Before we did not spend much attention on online marketing, not our property, many properties, because mostly of the guests using Expedia, Booking, etc. just took a location. For example, you'd like to go to Rome, you just put on the Booking, Expedia, whatever, like 1, 2, 3, Sales, I don't know, many types. Location, Rome, Paris, whatever, and it shows your best offers. But now it's a much more difficult one. And how to show the guests that they are here. For us, it's not so crucial because we have some reputation, we have money for the marketing. But for the small hotels, like I would say, far from Russia, in Murmansk, etc., it's quite difficult to spend like 1 million, 2 million rubles for the marketing per month because they have 40 rooms and total revenue 800 rubles. If they spend 6%, it's nothing. If they will spend 20%, also nothing. If you have a revenue for the less than 1 million. That's why our government and hoteliers talk with the government that make a region advertisement, advertising of the region clusters, whatever, shows that there are some properties. This is like the main trend and main thinking for our half of the year to attract more direct bookings. Before we used to have this type of question, but it was not so crucial as it now. This is like main thinking to attract direct bookings.
And
thank you.
Yes, thank you for your answer. So what are those strategies? So marketing, right, to attract those direct bookings. What are some of the other strategies apart from marketing?
As I told before, today it's e-commerce marketing. We use different type of sources, not only email, sending or listing on Yandex, Google, social networks. Also, we have to change. Before Instagram was very powerful and Facebook. Now, of course, and for us, we don't see, for example, good feedback from the Telegram so far. It has. The first thing to attract direct bookings as a guest came to us, we have to keep it. This is comes loyalty program, and that the guest will share his opinion, for example, or recommended us to the his friends, relative, etc. We call it handshake strategy, like that I will ask recommended to other guests like this.
Thank you for this. Okay. Before we close the session, I'd like to just read out some of the questions that we had in our chat from the audience. We had a question to Igor. Everyone found that presentation especially interesting. So I strongly agree that storytelling is a crucial part for building hotel branding. And are there some examples of successful implementation of city branding here in Russia? Or at least, are there any cities making attempts to use design thinking towards building their own brand? And we already answered this question by talking about the example of St. Petersburg. Are there any more examples?
Yeah, there's plenty. Thank you, Uliana, for asking this question. That's another chance for me to raise awareness of the current state of city branding in Russia. So there's this city called Dobryanka, which has an amazing city branding campaign, which is still going. It is going now for, I guess, more than 12 years, actually, and it's going pretty well. So Dobryanka is a great name. The first association people have when they hear the word is with the word dobro, or kindness. So the whole brand of the city was built around the slogan that the Dobryanka city is the capital of kindness in Russia. And they made great identics, they've made great designs and so on, but it's all about the associations, it's all about the identity the brand has, the brand gives. So it motivated Dobryanka's citizens to be kind and to be even kinder. Many of Dobryanka's citizens thought that they were already kinder than other Russian citizens. The impact was pretty nice. It was also covered in many media sources. The Blueprint wrote about Dobryanka. RIA Novosti and like all the Russian state media and so on. So yeah, I'll also pinpoint Urюпинsk, and I'll also pinpoint Krasnokamsk. That's for the further research. Yeah.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you very much for your research on this topic. Okay, before we finish, I'll just read out one last question, but we have already answered it. I will just read it out to show the interest to this presentation from the audience. This was a question to Donna. People were interested if there's a possibility for any hotels to implement robot assistance on all of the stages of hotel service, thus leaving little or no human communication between the guest and the employee. And I believe this is what we've already been talking about, right? This communication with the guest, how we might lose something, right, by actually implementing robots. So thank you there for your research on this, and maybe this can become the object or your further research studying at the department. So thank you there. And we'd like to just invite the closing word from Irina, our expert, to close this session, to close what we've been talking about today.
I would like to thank all the participants. It's actually, for me, was amazing how thoughtful and deeply supported all the presentations were. And thank you very much for your hard work and very interesting information, and noticing all the trends that you guys will be able to implement in the future in the hotel industry. I think we will have a good future to look at for the hotel industry in Russia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irina. Thank you, our experts. Thank you, Vladimir. Thank you, Arina, for being here with us today. It was a real honor to have your expertise here. Thank you very much for being here. Also, thank you to all of the speakers, amazing presentations, a lot of insights that we gained from this. And thank you for the audience, for your participation and for your interest in the subject. So I can say with greater confidence that the future of hospitality depends on the people we have here in this room today. And thank you everyone for coming. This is a conversation that is not over and will need to continue. And let's say thank you to everybody and a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.